You guys really seem to like my video on what every F1 driver needs right now, so I thought I'd do that again with the teams. Every team in F1 right now has a very different story. Some like Haas, new to the sport, some like Sauber that are quickly leaving to become Audi, and some that are so rich in history like Ferrari. But the thing is, right now, they're all in very different places, and it really does make you wonder, what does every F1 team need right now?
Red Bull gives you wings.
First of all, Red Bull's in a very difficult spot right now. They've had their most important staff leave in the past couple of years, and they just fired Christian Horner, and they thought that would be enough to hold on to Max Verstappen. But no. All the rumors suggest that he's either going to Mercedes or he is going to stay at Red Bull, but he'll be very uncontent and probably want to leave soon. So they really just got to head into a big rebuild phase. The car this year looks undrivable, and with a transition to their Ford motors next year not looking too good, they really need to fix some things. If the rumors are true and Max Verstappen is leaving, their current driver lineup would be left with Yuki Tsunoda and the options of Liam Lawson, Arvid Lindblad, Isaac Hadjar, and anyone else who is a free agent at the end of the season. With one of those being a rookie next year and the other two at the time will just have one full F1 season under their belts, Red Bull isn't in a very good position. They most likely won't be in a winning position, and they really just need to rebuild their way back to being at the top again. With how good they've been for the past couple of years, it is very cyclical that a team is going to end up falling back a little bit, but Red Bull's fall is going to be a lot bigger than other teams have in the past, so they really need to take the hit now for more future growth.
It's broken!
Now, McLaren has quite the opposite issue to Red Bull, and that's the fact that they are doing so well right now. They have two drivers that are contesting for a championship, and that's always going to be a recipe for disaster. Compared to other driver pairings that we've seen a lot of animosity between, like Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, and Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, it isn't that bad yet for Norris and Piastri, but we really had to prevent it from happening. With both of them consistently being at the front, and usually a driver in between them, like Max Verstappen, the team usually has to choose between one of the drivers on who they're going to prioritize for a race. They go with whatever driver is in the front at the time, which is understandable, but the way they go about it is pretty soft. They've had a lot of discourse with it. For example, Oscar Piastri got left to pit later in Austria when he could have had the chance to win, which is probably to do with the fact that McLaren doesn't want their drivers battling one another. But they keep advertising that they're not going to be intervening and they want the drivers to race head to head, but that's clearly not what's going on. At some point, they got to put their foot down and let the two drivers know what's really happening. Otherwise, it's going to overboil sooner than later. Mercedes are expected to have the best power unit next year by a long shot, and they really need to take advantage of it. Regardless of what their driver lineup is for next year, they have to be in the best position to win right now. They're likely going to be in a shootout with the McLarens next year, and given that they're also using Mercedes power units, Mercedes has to stay ready. They were so dominant throughout the 2010s that the lackluster performances they had when the regulations changed in 2022 were just weird to see. As long as they don't try to find an improvement in a way that's out of the norm like they did with whatever the hell this zero side pods thing was, and just focus on making a good car, even if it isn't technologically groundbreaking or different in any way from the other cars, they will be sure to succeed. They have all the tools, all the experience at running at the front, so it's time to make a push.
Everybody's a Ferrari fan. Even
Ferrari's been in a weird spot the past couple of years. Or wait, past couple of decades. They're always brought up as the only team that's been in Formula One from the very beginning, and they are the most successful in the series, but that really does seem like ages ago. We did see Ferrari look like they were contesting for a championship most recently in 2022 with Charles Leclerc, but through a couple of errors from both his side and the team side, that crumbled pretty quickly. Between Leclerc and Hamilton, they aren't lacking on the front of driver skill because we know that they're capable of great things, but there's just no confidence right now. I don't know if it's the fact that the radio messages sound like marriage therapy, or the fact that the media has extremely high expectations for Ferrari every single weekend, but they never seem to be able to end a weekend on a good note. For example, their high point this season is probably Lewis Hamilton winning the sprint pole and then winning the sprint race in China. Everyone was so happy, and they were all saying the Lewis Hamilton Ferrari era has begun. And then the next day, both drivers get disqualified for the main race. It really is sad for the Tifosi, but Ferrari just really has to get their shit together. Aston Martin's made a lot of steps in the right direction. They brought in Adrian Newey, they signed Honda to be the only ones on the grid with their power units, and they've been steadily making improvements throughout the season. But they have one large looming issue, and that is that their main driver, no, the other one, Fernando Alonso is a special breed. This man is 43 years of age and has been racing for longer than some of the drivers on the grid have been alive. And with the way he drives, it doesn't seem to matter. His driving ability is still at a level where he could win races, but his age holds him back in the regards that he could call it quits at any moment now. He doesn't really have time to wait around for a good car, and he has even rumored to jump ship back to Alpine to reunite with Flavio Briatore. So if Aston Martin doesn't give him a good car, they'll lose their best driver that they've had since returning to F1. If Fernando were to leave, they would have a solid chance at landing a good driver, but no one will have as much experience as Alonso, so their real window to win is now.
R.I.P. Latifi, shout out to his family.
Now, Williams is looking like they're going on a very good upwards trajectory. They've scored two incredible drivers on their midfield team after going through quite the rebuild phase, and their car is getting better year by year. That is, except for this one. With the new regulations on the horizon, Williams have decided to allocate all their time and resources to next year's car. With the Mercedes power unit being projected to be the best, like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Williams on the podium next year. That is, if they can keep their drivers satisfied this year. Carlos Sainz has had a rough time adjusting, and Alex Albon has also seemed to have a few hiccups throughout the season despite doing incredibly well. But as long as they both stick it out for the rest of the year, they're sure to be in a great position to make big things happen next year. Finding a specific thing that RB has to do to get better is weird because they don't really have a goal for themselves but to make Red Bull win. They are now under a new team principal, and hopefully they can make that go well as they have before. But I think the only real concern that RB might have is holding on to their junior drivers. Like I said earlier, I'm predicting that Red Bull won't do very well, and with RB being their junior team, if the senior team isn't doing too well, there's not much incentive to get promoted. We've seen this year that the RB car looks a lot more friendly to drive than the Red Bull car, and if that stays the same, drivers will either want to stick it out at RB or move to another team. And with Red Bull ownership still wanting the Red Bull team to be the priority, there really is no perk to being at RB in the long term. With Isaac Hadjar looking very promising and Liam Lawson looking strong when he's in a comfortable spot, this team does have drivers that they can do a lot with, but they don't exactly have the power to keep them, if opportunity would arise for them.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum.
Now, this answer is going to be very similar to my other video with the drivers because I grouped both drivers together on that one. Between then and now, Nico Hulkenberg has scored his podium, and Gabriel Bortoleto still continues to amaze me. I genuinely think that they're a top 5 driver pairing without a doubt, and they have a chance to do incredible things in a good car. Now, the real concern is with that Audi engine. With Audi being new to the sport next year and having their own power units, that's an awfully high bar to set to expect them to have a great car right out the gate. As we've seen in the past, having a good chassis means nothing if your power unit just sucks. Considering that the Sauber is considered the worst car on the grid this year, and both drivers are doing very well in it at this point in the season, as long as Audi can make a car to at least a similar caliber, what weather conditions or tracks that suit their car will be home runs for the team. Where, as a new team that could very well be backmarkers, that's a good thing to aim for, but it is all going to lie in that Audi power unit. Haas has been doing pretty well on Sundays this year, scoring a good amount of points, but that's about it. Qualifying has been a huge weak point for the team, and although it makes it look cool when they go out in Q1 and finishing the points, it really isn't something to be proud of. For some reason, they just can't dial in the one lap pace, and that could do with the main issue that Haas struggled with last season, tire wear. With it being such a large issue for the team last year, they had to cut stints short because of excessive wear, and that seems to be the issue again. Now, they do well at certain tracks in quali, and we will see the occasional Haas driver make it to Q3, but the overall lack of consistency in qualifying is really hampering their chances of climbing the midfield like they should be. Alpine has had so many drivers and so many team principals that all they really need to do is keep something constant. They've proven that their chassis is good, and with the switch to those Mercedes engines I keep praising for next year, they do have a real chance. We've seen this team win championships in the past and score a double podium last season, so we know they're capable. They just need to start acting like it. The fact that a customer team can be great is literally being proven right now with McLaren's excellence, and I don't see why Alpine can't do the same next year. As long as they make their drivers feel like they have even a little bit of job security and don't completely botch the car next year, they have a real great opportunity ahead of them to make something big really happen.